you're about to premiere your latest film, Empire State. There, what are you, just a couple of hours away from premiering it?
Yeah, I think at it's like 8 o'clock. I'm pretty sure.
So tell me how that feels for you as a director. I mean, this is your baby. Is it nerve-wracking to unveil it to an audience?
Oh yeah, of course. And it's fun. It's the whole thing. So just go there and eat some popcorn and have some fun and go take a walk. Somewhere new.
So tell me about this film, because it's based on a true event, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a guy, Chris, funny enough, we're from the same neighborhood, Astoria, in New York, Queens. I mean, the story is so nuts, In 1982, he got a job, regular job out of the Village Voice, minimum wage, and they handed him a gun and said, watch the money in the Bronx. He had a job in the Bronx, some crazy place that they had armored trucks, and they would bring money and store it there, and they would store like lots and lots of money. And he never shot a gun before. He was, I think he was 19, and they gave him a gun. He said, I don't even know how to do this. And they were like, well, if you see a bad guy, you press that button there, and then you call us. It was pretty, very 1982 New York, and it's a lot of events happened, but in the end, he just started noticing that at nighttime, these trucks would have lots and lots of money, and it would take the drivers a long time to carry it all in, and then a long time to carry it all out, because they got out of work, I don't know, at 8 o'clock at night, and they had to bring all the money back to the bank at 6 a.m., so they started getting lazy and leaving it in the truck because they didn't want to carry it all in. And he told a friend, and they ended up, two guys that had no business doing it ended up pulling off the biggest robbery in American history at the time. It was 3 times Lufthansa, and you never even heard of these guys, It's pretty crazy. And, Giuliani was the district attorney at the time, and everyone was positive that it must have been the mob or someone because it was way too big a heist. Nobody thought it was these 2 Greek guys that one of them worked in a diner, and the other guy just got a job there, and so that's kind of the basis of the story. It was kind of like the king that couldn't shoot straight,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, you've got a terrific screenwriter. Adam.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, we had him on the show previously, and he's a great writer. When you read this material as a director, what were you most excited about? What muscles was this project flexing for you?
Well, of course, I love Adam. He is a great writer. He won an Emmy for the Kevorkian story, and I had met him, and it's funny because I got the script sent a couple of times, I think because people thought, oh, it's the neighborhood I grew up in, and I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can go back there for another movie. I'm like a homing pigeon. I always go back to where I grew up. And then of course one day I started peeking, just flipping through it, and I would see the Neptune Diner, and I'd say, oh my God, the Neptune Diner, that was on my corner, and little things that reminded me of where I grew up. And then I started reading it, and I said, oh, wow, he's obviously an excellent writer. And then I said, is this guy out of jail? What's the deal? And then funny enough, I had a couple of friends who knew him, and we got to meet. And the minute I met Chris, I said, oh, wow. I kind of liked, it's really just a fun film. It's not a big emotional thing, which is usually what I get into. But this guy, Chris, I just loved him because, he really had no business robbing. He was certainly not it's not like a Matrix or any high-skilled guy who, cleverly pulling off a robbery. It was blunt, he's a pretty funny guy, He's like, I said, well, so what did you do? He goes, oh, we just took the money. I said, and then what? He's like, we ran and we hid. So I kind of liked that thinking. It was very simple and fun, and so I thought we could have a good time doing it,
Yeah, and but I guess when you're casting characters like that, I mean,
right.
casting is majorly important, and you've got such charismatic, down-to-earth, very likable cast in this movie, led by Dwayne Johnson and Liam. Tell me about that process. I mean, was it immediate in your mind who you wanted to cast for these leads?
Oh, no, it never is. I'm a terrible person at that. always want to cast people from the 70s, you know. I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect for, this guy, but he's like 70 now, you know. I think of an old film because these characters, what I enjoy about it is it's just a good time. You know, if you think of like, Dog Afternoon, it's like, it's not these great skilled people. It's just a guy who's like, there's money here, so I'm going to try and take it, you know.
Yeah.
So then, but the thing about Chris and the script and everything is, everybody was a very likable, regular guy, you know. So we started trying to figure out who can do that and who wants to do that, and luckily we got some pretty fun, great people, and another actor, Mike Garano, who I love, and Liam was excellent, and The Rock, of course, and it was just like, okay, let's try and make a movie where we just have a really good time making it and knock it out, So
yeah.
It's a very strange way to sometimes it's a little bit more, deep emotional thing, but this was more, when I met Chris, his personality just sort of was like, okay, I think I can enjoy watching these guys for, 2 hours,
You mentioned, like, 70s movies. Do you think that was the best decade for American cinema, the 70s?
Well, I guess as an artist, yeah, but like I'm a pretty pop person. I like, big pop junk, I'm still waiting for the next movie with, Morgan Freeman and a serial killer and a white girl, That's what I like. So, but of course the 70s films, Harold and Maude and those things, Annie Hall, whatever. Annie Hall's the 80s, but of course I love those films. They're so incredible. But it's all the same. I mean, every year there's something new, and then there's, it depends where you look.
Yeah, there tends to be. I mean, I do the same thing. I mean, I glorify the 70s a lot in terms of the movies that came out then. But, you do that and you tend to ignore that you could very well be living in a golden age right now and not see it because you're nostalgic for a different time. And,
right, we all are, yeah.
Yeah, and I do think there are terrific movies today, as many as there were in the 70s, more than likely. But speaking of 70s, and you made mention of Dog Day Afternoon, my idol is Al Pacino. And
he's a good one to have.
You got to direct him. And
right, yeah.
I always have to know, what was that experience like?
It's insane, I love him like everybody does, maybe I feel like I love him more than a lot of people, but that's a lot, I'm a really big fan. I love all his films, and Carlito's Way is, I think, my favorite film ever,
Wow.
And so to meet him, of course it's a huge deal, I couldn't even believe it, I was like, holy cow, I took a picture of his front door, I'm like, oh my God, I'm here, And then you meet him, and he's a really sweet person. I don't know him well. Of course, we just did that film together, But from what I got to know, he was like a pretty regular guy from the Bronx, And he that is incredibly talented, And he's a funny guy. I think he turned 70 while we were filming, and he showed up, and he had to do a 5-page dialogue scene, and he did it in one take. We did 2 takes just to get coverage. It was like, holy cow, and then you realize, wow, I don't know why I'm so shocked that, like, Jordan just dunked on me, But, he is Michael Jordan, he's the real deal, so it was a real, not even a dream, because I wouldn't dream that stuff. It was really nice,
Wow. So Empire State, when is it being released?
I don't know. I'm finding out. I didn't even know about this here in Tampa until recently, and then they said, this is just like a screening of it here. I imagine they'll have a proper release, whatever. I don't know how that stuff goes. This stuff will drive me bananas, but they say come and I go. So here I am.
Yeah. Well, and you're already preparing your next one, aren't you?
Yeah. It's a really kind of beautiful film. I'm really excited. It's called Boulevard, and it's with Robin Williams, another guy that is like, holy cow, we've only spoken on the phone, and that was pretty exciting, So, and I think it's a pretty really, really special film, I can tell,